Let's get the matchups to watch with ESPN.com NFL insider KC Joyner, who joins us with a look at Eagles-Packers Monday night here after a wild Thursday and Sunday slate of games. KC, we got one more left, and it's, of course, Philly and the Packers. And I'll start with asking you, do you look at this as an elimination game for these teams? 4-6, 5-5. The loser, you put them basically done in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, because there's only 2 wildcard spots, and you know that Washington's probably going to get one, and you've got between Dallas and Washington, and what you see with the other conferences and things. I just don't think that you're gonna. I don't think you can afford. I think you have to be 10-6 to have a chance. So if you're losing tonight, the odds that you're going to get there just won't happen. So yeah, this is a must-win. This is a late November playoff game.
Yeah, I agree with you there, guys. And let's take a look at this Packers team who has really struggled. Their secondary's been abysmal. The Eagles have announced that they will not play Nelson Aguilar tonight. He will be the Eagles haven't announced it yet, but there are reports out there that he will be a healthy scratch. So that means Jordan Matthews will play inside and outside. They're going to take a look at Paul Turner, DGB. Give us your take now without Aguilar with this wide receiver core against this secondary.
You can still pick your spots. I mean, Aguilar, if you find he'll be a healthy scratch, he hasn't shown up for games anyway, it seems like, basically, so it is bad as he's played. But, I mean, the Packers, you can basically pick your metric. If you're looking at, like, vertical passing, we talk about this most weeks, that's production on aerials, throwing 11 or more yards downfield when you're trying to stretch the defense a little bit. Green Bay ranks 30th in completion percentage allowed on those passes, 56.9%. When you're trying to vertical pass, you're getting nearly 60% completion against these guys. They rank dead last in vertical yards per attempt, 14.3 yards per attempt on vertical passes, and they've given up 12 vertical pass touchdowns. I mean, this is not just a team that you can throw the ball on short passes or that you can just hit dink and dunk with. You can go vertical on these guys early and often. So be curious to see. A couple 3 weeks ago, they let Carson Wentz throw 21 vertical passes. Be curious to see if Philadelphia says, look, this is a game where we need you to be hitting these big passes and cutting loose.
They're going to get Demarius Randall back in this game and give him a little bit of a boost here. But, you just mentioned you can go down the field. The tight ends are in play here. But no Ryan Matthews tonight. But does Wendell Smallwood need to still be a factor into this game? What should the Eagles' running game look like against this Packers team?
With the running game, I mean, you want to get Smallwood. Smallwood is a guy we talked about before. That last year he ranked first in the FBS in college in percentage of plays that gained 5 or more yards, or percentage of plays that gained 10 or more yards. He didn't do very well when he got up to 20 and things, but if you're running a guy with a short area of speed, he's someone who has it. And Green Bay's rush defense was powerful earlier in the year, but I think a lot of the reason that they looked powerful earlier in the year is their defense. Their secondary was so bad, teams didn't even try to run the ball against them. Philadelphia still ranks 3rd in the league in my good blocking rate metric that measures how productive or how often an offense gives its ball carriers quality run blocking. So they have the option to go ahead and lean on the running game and keep Green Bay's defense honest, which even if they're honest, they're still bad. So I think it's an option where Philadelphia just needs to say, hey, we need to go all out on offense.
KC Joyner is with us here. I said before you came on that this game has the makings of either being a very entertaining shootout or a very sloppy game that just has ugly points scored because you got two teams that are, mediocre or average, to bad. And, the Eagles, if they can't score points in this game, I think that will tell us all we need to know about their offense here. But when you flip the script and look at Aaron Rodgers and the way he's played, if you're Philadelphia on the defensive side of the ball, do they have the horses to stop this Packers offense, which, Casey, even though they've lost 4 in a row, they're still putting points on the board?
Yeah, they're still putting points on the board. The problem for Rodgers this year has been that he hasn't been very good on vertical passes for the most part. In fact, Green Bay recently started to switch to more of a dink and dunk approach. If we're talking on vertical yards per attempt this season, you're talking that Aaron Rodgers is, I'm looking right now, he actually ranks 25th in vertical yards per attempt, 9.1 yards on vertical passes. When we talked about the defense giving up 14.3 yards of vertical passes, he's only completing 36% of his vertical passes this year. Rounded up, maybe 37. Has 5 touchdowns versus 6 interceptions of vertical passes. I mean, Rodgers is just not a guy who can, who's going vertical anymore. And Jordy Nelson doesn't look like he did when he was, on his stride a couple years ago. He looks like he's still a little slowed maybe by injury rust. So this is not an offense that can go toe-to-toe on big plays, and that's one of the reasons I think Philadelphia needs to go to the big play approach, is to say we know Green Bay can't hit big plays as long as we don't let, as long as we are smart in our defense, we don't let them hit big plays. That's not what they're going to do. So they're going to do dink and dunk throw, and we're going to hit vertical throw. And I would take the vertical into that equation 7 days a week.
Seems that year after year, even when Rodgers has weapons and he's good and they're playing well, the offensive line has been a struggle with Green Bay during his tenure there. Is this a night where the Eagles' defensive pressure, that Jim Schwartz defense, should be able to get to Rodgers?
They should, but again, if Rodgers goes to a lot of dink and dunk throwing, it's going to be hard to get there. But again, that would play into Philadelphia's hand, and that if you're hitting vertical passes and you force, and the other team, because they're afraid to get their quarterback drop back 5 and 7 steps and face a pass rush like that, you're going to be making them do dink and dunk throws. So I think it's a situation where, if you can get a lead and now Rodgers has to start on vertical passes, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Eagles pass rush get after him.
Talk with KC Joyner here, the matchups to look for in tonight's game. And, special teams doesn't get a lot of attention, but when you're the Eagles and you're the best at it, you look at the numbers, Green Bay's the worst in coverage. I mean, this is an area where, too, this game could really get changed with field position and maybe just like that game last night. I look at the Chiefs. You look at Tyreek Hill, a guy that no one really had heard of, no Macklin last night, Albert Wilson. I mean, they don't have great weapons, and yet Travis Kelce kind of Ertz. The Eagles really should use that blueprint, the kick return, and just getting the ball to the tight end as a recipe for a game like tonight.
Yep, the ESPN Stats and Information has a metric called Special Teams Expected Points Added. It measures the scoreboard impact of special teams plays. The Eagles are averaging just over 2 points per game in the plus side of that equation. The Packers are averaging just about 2.5, almost 3 points per game in the negative side of the equation. So you're talking, add those two up, nearly 6 points, so almost a touchdown advantage that Philadelphia can have if the way the special teams have played out this year plays out today. And in this sort of a contest where you're saying, okay, the Eagles might have a vertical pass advantage, and if you start adding it, now you get a special teams advantage, nearly a touchdown, it starts to be where this is, again, another path to victory for the Eagles.
Yeah, and KC Joyner with us. So you look at a path of Eagles, victory for the Eagles. They've been very good at home here, and that's where they'll be on Monday night here. But if you're the Packers, and you're going against this Eagles defense and you're the Packers, what's your game plan tonight? Because they have not really run the ball very well since Lacey's gone out. Starks, Christine Michael, it doesn't seem like they have that guy they want to lean on. So what is their game plan tonight against Philly's defense?
Yeah, if I'm the Packers, I'm thinking of doing two things. One, I'm still going off my dink and dunk approach. I want to try and get vertical passes in there because Philadelphia has been hit or miss on vertical passes as well. So I would try to get some of that going, but I'm still going to go off my dink and dunk approach. But my big thing is that I'm hoping that Rodgers makes fewer mistakes than Wentz. If I'm them, it's a matter of saying, okay, on offense, I'm going to try and be safe but very productive because I think I can dink and dunk my way down the field and just hope that you can get Wentz to make some errors because the Eagles will want to. I almost want to goad the Eagles or bait the Eagles into saying, if I'm the Packers, I want you to throw vertical. I want you to test this defense and see if we can get the rookie to make mistakes. If he doesn't make mistakes and he hits the passes, well, fine, Green Bay, you lose. But if you don't try and get him into making mistakes, and which is something that he's been a little prone to of late, if you don't try to get him to do that and you just try and play base coverages and things, you're just asking for him to beat you.
And if you're Philadelphia, you look at their game plan in this game, I think they have an interesting conundrum here. Do I throw the ball against this secondary, or do I go with my strength, which is being, as you've mentioned many weeks here, good blocking. They got a good offensive line. They can run the ball, but it's very enticing to throw against this team.
Yeah, and you want to get the big lead against Green Bay. You'd like to get out to, if you get out to, you always want to get out to a 10-point lead, but if you could get out in this sort of game, then it makes Green Bay not have to throw the ball vertical, and then for your pass rush can get going, and maybe you can lead more in your power running game. You could do all those things, and yet we've talked over the past few weeks many times that Carson Wentz early in games, he tends to be really rattled, tends to be really shaky, and seems like he lets the pressure get to him. And now you're talking a Monday night game. I mean, this is big, like you mentioned, coming into this segment and things. That hey, it's the game of the day, and it's something everybody's paying attention to. So there's a lot of pressure on a rookie quarterback in that kind of situation. So if you're the Eagles, if I'm them, I might even want to say I want to find a couple of, I don't want to say say trick plays, but something interesting early on to say, let's go ahead and do this early on to break the ice and maybe get Wentz to be a little more relaxed. Because if he can hit a big play early, and maybe in the first couple of drives, I think I could change the whole complexion.
Yeah, and Wentz is kind of a lost guy in this one, it seems like, where he's up against Aaron Rodgers in a game that's really a must-win. You're really putting a lot on his shoulders, and he doesn't have great weapons. And, using Jordan Matthews tonight, is he a guy that you think the Eagles should really be leaning on here? Is he the guy that the Eagles need to get more involved?
Yeah, he's going to be he's your best wide receiver, so you should try and get him as involved as possible. And we talked about Rodgers having some trouble on vertical passes. Carson Wentz ranks 23rd in vertical yards per attempt this year. He only has 9.8 yards. I mean, he's got a lower vertical yards per attempt than Cody Kessler. I mean, that's the Cleveland quarterback. That's pretty bad. So, I mean, Wentz isn't exactly doing well, and he only has a 3 to 5 touchdown interception ratio on vertical passes. So it's one of those things where you'd like to see them get Jordan Matthews involved, but I think the Eagles, of course, are going to be concerned that if we try and lean too heavily on Wentz with this vertical passing game, even though we've got a really favorable matchup, is the bad Wentz going to show up? Because if he does, and he throws, say, a couple of interceptions or something of that nature, if that kind of thing happens, now you're giving Green Bay its path to victory.
All right, let's get into the other NFL matchups and get Casey's take on what happened on this weekend. It started on Thursday with Minnesota and Detroit. I guess, we've been talking about Detroit the last couple of weeks. They don't do it pretty, but 7 wins. They're the 3 seed right now. Is it time to start taking them serious?
I want to take them seriously, but Bill James, the old sabermetrician in baseball, he used to say that if you're winning a bunch of close games, people will talk about it being heart and character and all that. He says usually that's a sign that that's an okay team that's getting lucky is more what it is. Really great teams tend to win games by big margins and things. So I think that it's great to see them do well and win these late games, but I just think that you can't win like that forever. So I think Detroit's going to be a flash in the pan.
Yeah, probably a one-and-done playoff look to them. How about Washington with that loss? We know Dallas 10-1; they're cruising along. But did you learn anything about Dallas in defeat? 449 from Cousins.
Yeah, I learned something about Washington in that game, and that Cousins. I just wrote an article for ESPN's Insider section in the fantasy football realm about whether or not Deshaun Jackson's going to be a guy I can rely on down the stretch. Since Week 5, when Tom Brady returned, Kirk Cousins ranks second in the league in vertical total QBR. That's ESPN's measurement for quarterback production. In vertical total QBR, only Brady has a better number since Week 5 in that category. So, Cousins went from being a guy coming into the season where they were saying they didn't give him a contract, I think, in large part because he didn't do well in vertical passes. You're talking for over the past 9 weeks, he's been arguably the best vertical quarterback in the NFL. So I think it's one of those things where that's something about Washington. Yeah, they didn't win this game, but that team is showing that we can stretch the ball and go deep with Cousins, and that is a huge difference maker for them.
Tell us how well Mariota's been playing.
Mariota is playing off the charts. I may even be writing something about him for Insider for an article that's going to go up this week. I can't tell you specifically what it's about, but looking at Mariota is looking like it's going to be one of the options for it. He's doing it running the ball. He's doing it passing the ball. He's doing it on vertical passes. He's doing it on stretch vertical passes. He's not making bad decisions. I mean, you can basically pick your metric, and he has just been phenomenal of late. I can argue that he could be an MVP caliber candidate if you're talking over maybe the past 8 weeks.
We were joking around about this before you came on. Would you rather Chip Kelly with Mariota or Peterson with Wentz? Is Kelly fired if he got his hands on Mariota?
If Chip Kelly had Mariota, he would still be. If he had got him in Philadelphia, he would still be in Philadelphia. Mariota is that good.
And this is, some people thought, Casey, that he would only succeed in Kelly's offense, right?
Yeah, they thought that's all that he could do. Although if you looked at what he did up in Oregon, if you started to look at the way the ways he was successful and things, there were certain things but they turned that offense from Chip Kelly's run-based offense where they would throw the ball at certain times and such. They turned that. By the time he left Oregon, Mariota was operating a pass-first offense. They had changed their structure. He was so good that they said, "Look, we can't just run the Kelly system. We need to make this more of a Mariota-centric offense." And I think that's I think it's hurt Oregon now because their defense fell apart after they went away from that run-first system. But I think that shows you how good Mariota was.
Okay, so who's better, Winston or Mariota?
Oh, Mariota by far. Winston Winston is doing very well, mind you, and he's making progress, but he's still a too much of a risk taker. He's a volume guy where he's going to put up prolific numbers, but Mariota's going to beat him in quality.
All right, take a look at some of the other games that had some importance over this weekend. And we look at the Giants. They knocked off Cleveland, which they did. They're now 8-3, but they got a tough stretch ahead. But did we learn enough about the Giants to think that they should take care of their business and get them? They're probably going to have to win at least 2 more games, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's sort of like I don't know if Cleveland's just because they didn't dominate Cleveland the way you would have thought they should have, but then Pittsburgh didn't do that a couple weeks ago too. Maybe Cleveland's better than we're all giving them credit for. But I mean, the Giants had to go to Pittsburgh. That's a very tough game. That's Week 13. They got to face Dallas at home in Week 14. They got Detroit in Week 15, and Detroit's been that great fourth quarter team. Then they got to go to Philadelphia in Week 16 for a Thursday game, and then they got Washington away in Week 17. I'm looking at that going, they could get 2 wins there. Would it be surprising to see them get more than 2 wins? I don't think they'll get more than 2. Would it be a shock if they went 1-4? It would be a shock if they went 4. That's a brutal schedule.
I concur. We all looked at that when they won that big game a couple of weeks ago, when they got the win. Who they beat a couple of weeks ago that got them to 6 wins, and you said, oh, well, they're going to get to 8 wins. They won that primetime game, and it was like,
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, that's right. And then they got the 6 wins, and they said, wow, they're going to get 2 more. They're going to be 8-3. And then we looked at the last 5 and said, but can they get to 10 will be the big question for them. KC Joyner is with us looking at the games. Hey, I got to ask you, Miami's won 6 in a row. If the playoffs started today, they'd be in.
Yeah. I'm here in Central Florida. We've been used to Miami. Well, I used to back in the day when Miami would always be a playoff team, and but over the past decade, it's been something they've not been that good. Problem for them is that they've got a powerful rushing attack, or they've been doing better in the rushing attack. They've got Baltimore, Arizona, and the Jets the next 3 weeks. I think they'll beat the Jets, but Baltimore and Arizona, in fact, all 3 of those teams are really tough rush defenses. So I think we're going to find out a lot about Tannehill over the next few weeks, because then they can be able to lead in the ground game like they have.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, yesterday, a battle with San Francisco, who's not the best team, and they were traveling across the country. So Miami does what they need to do, though. They got to win at home, puts them in the playoffs because of last night's game, which we'll get into because there was a lot of cool things in that one there. And then you look at, Oakland. They had the lead. They gave it up. Carolina's season's on the line. I thought that showed a lot about the Raiders.
The Raiders, that was a reminder of what old school Raiders. I mean, Al Davis, if he were alive and today, this would be a team that he would be really proud of because it's old school Raider football. They stretch the field in the vertical passing. They got a powerful defense. They got a powerful offensive line, I should say. Their defense has played a lot better than they did early in the season when they played terrible. They've been playing kind of that kind of power football and things. This is a team that's built to be able to say they can win the game in so many different ways, and to be able to come back like they did against a Carolina team that, frankly, when they got down, was it 24-7? I was like, that game's over, and Carolina came back, but Oakland still stayed with it. And you look at their schedule; they got Buffalo, San Diego, Indianapolis are 3 of the teams they face. Those aren't none of them are brutal games. They got Kansas City and Denver as well. But I mean, that's a team that should be able to finish the season up on a strong note. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get a bye.
All right, last night Kansas City on the road wins in Denver. You get a 62-yard field goal try, basically saying we don't want to tie, so we got to go for this. Kansas City gets a field goal off the upright, goes in. What a great game, great ending to that one. But the Chiefs, they win on the road here. What's this mean for Denver?
It means for Denver that they don't have a powerful enough defense anymore to win the games the way they used to play and to win them, where they used to have just, that last year was their offense, their passing game was abysmal last year, but when your defense plays as well as it did, you can get away with that. This year they're not playing well enough to do that. Say something about Kansas City, though. If you're looking at the offenses they face over the next few weeks, Atlanta, Oakland, Tennessee, San Diego are 4 of the 5 offenses they face, and they got another game against Denver at home in Week 16. That's some tough offenses, and they've been winning, but they've been winning barely without having great offensive things. But I don't think you're going to get through those games with a lot of wins if you can't generate more offense than they're generating right now.
KC Joyner, ESPN.com's NFL Insider here. All right, Packers, Eagles tonight. Give me your key matchup tonight and your pick.
I think the Eagles will cut Carson Wentz loose like they did a few weeks ago. I think they'll say, go hit some vertical passes. He's going to make some mistakes, but he's going to hit more vertical passes than Aaron Rodgers, which everybody would be shocked by, but I'll bet that happens. And if that happens, the Eagles win this game.
All right, we'll see. And by the way, it sounds like no Aguilar tonight. He will probably be deactivated for the game, according to some reports out there. Nothing official yet from Philadelphia. KC Joyner, of course, here on Monday, and we'll get ready for the Eagles Bengals. That's where they will be coming up on Thursday show when KC returns with the matchups to watch for that one. KC, enjoyed it, pal.
Appreciate it, man.